Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2015. From the first operation to the final surgery, I had to have 3 surgeries in 81 days for treatment. The first operation was a laparoscopy to eliminate endometriosis on May 4, 2015. My second surgery was a cervical cancer cold cone biopsy. I chose to remain awake for this treatment, which was performed on June 22, 2015. The third procedure, a hysterectomy, was performed on July 24, 2015. I was more than prepared to endure this treatment on this beautiful July day because I was continuously in agony and discomfort. I was in good spirits and had a really positive frame of mind as I prepared for the procedure. I was bleeding excessively due to my ailment and was just pleased that my pain was coming to an end. I was dressed in a black skirt and a white top with black roses, and my sister had taken me to the hospital. I wanted to locate a blouse with black roses because it represented a new beginning. My sister accompanied me to the surgical check-in area and prayed with me. She then went to work, and I waited in the waiting area until I was summoned for pre-op preparations. I was ecstatic as I lay in the hospital bed preparing for my hysterectomy, knowing that after 2 years of excessive bleeding, my gynecological horror would finally end. I was going through a divorce at the time, and my spouse and children were not on speaking terms with me. That alone was difficult to bear since I was motionless beside myself as a mother. But I knew I couldn't give up hope and that God was with me every step of the way. The nurses had arrived, and I had completed all of my consent forms and documentation connected to the procedure. The registering nurse who had me sign my consent paperwork had told me that by doing it, I was giving up my right to have any more children. As I reflected on the child I had aborted on my own volition, tears streamed down my cheeks. She was perplexed as to why I was sobbing while signing my name. I went on to inform her the knowledge that I had an abortion was haunting me. I mentioned the guilt as devouring me, and I apologized for being so emotional. She was quite kind and wrapped her arm around me, assuring me that everything will be fine. I prayed as hard as I could after she departed, asking God for forgiveness and to help me overcome the guilt of April 26, 2010, the day I lost my kid. I felt increasingly terrified when the anesthesiologist entered and began detailing the consequences of anesthesia on me. I told him about my most recent anesthetic experience, which occurred in 1998. I stated that I was aggressive under anesthesia and that when the mask was placed over my face, I would try to fight the medical professionals. I mentioned that when I was intubated in 1998, I hit the nurse in the face. The mere concept of a tube being inserted down my throat terrified me. Please give me some sort of sedative or soothing medicine before being carried to the real surgery room, I joked. I don't want to have to punch someone in the face, I started giggling. Please, keep me pleasant and calm, and everything will be fine. As long as you don't punch me in the face, he laughed. We'll give you an anti-anxiety prescription that's similar to Valium, but stronger. I was given an IV sedative. My operating gynecologist enters at my bedside at this point to provide my sedative. Well, Tammy, today's the day you've been waiting for, he says as he shakes my hand. Yes. No more bleeding, I exclaimed happily. I also made a joke saying, "Woohoo, the stock price for MaxiPads will drop to an all-time low. If any of you doctors have stock in a MaxiPad company, liquidate and sell it now because I made the MaxiPad industry wealthy. You're going to do just great during surgery, Tammy," my doctor chuckled. The reality of being taken to the surgery room began to dawn on me. Doctor, take the demons out. The anguish, the blood, and the memories of a uterus that once carried a child that I aborted, I said to my doctor. They started taking me to the surgery room. As I sat in the operating room, I began to feel more at ease. The anxiety medication had taken effect, and they were preparing to administer the anesthetic. To this day, I have to congratulate the employees for putting the mask over my face without my knowledge. By making comical faces, they had tricked me into laughing. I was unconscious the next thing I knew and had no recollection of anything. My NDE started when I was coming out of anesthesia. The noises, scents, and views were spectacular. Furthermore, my spiritual feeling was really stunning. To begin, I was standing on what looked like a number line. I was dressed in the same outfit I'd worn when I checked in for surgery earlier that morning. A short black skirt and a white sleeveless shirt with black roses on a white backdrop. A carbon copy of myself stood exactly in front of me as I stood on this number line. I couldn't believe I was staring at myself in the absence of a mirror. My own soul was staring at my physical body, and my physical body was staring at my soul. My carbon copy soul was utterly silent and still, but it was surrounded by the most beautiful white light. The top of my head was surrounded by red question marks. With the ability to see, hear, feel, think, and smell at such a high degree, I was standing at a perfect 0 on the number line, or my physical body. I'm going to give a brief description of each side of this number line, starting with the left. I noticed complete and entire blackness on the left side. During this period of gloom, I went over my entire life and reviewed everything I'd done that violated the 10 Commandments. These images were quick snapshots of everything wrong I'd done in God's eyes. I had witnessed my child's abortion, extramarital affairs, shoplifting as a teenager, disrespecting my father and mother, and pretty much everything terrible I'd ever done. I was also given the power to experience every emotion felt by those I'd wounded. The life review was brought to me so vividly and quickly that I was in actual shock. My wrongdoings flashed before my eyes at a rate unfathomable on earth. Suddenly, I felt intense heat begin to rapidly heat the entire left side of my body. The temperature of this heat, in comparison, makes a furnace appear cool. I saw 2 flames in the shape of a human figure appear after the life assessment of my wrongdoings. These inflamed figurines were screaming in pain at about a 45-degree angle to my left. My nostrils were filled with the odor of burning hair and rotten charred flesh. I could then clearly see the 2 burning figures. The first was my soon-to-be ex-husband, and the second was his father. Without making negative remarks, both of those individuals had their own beliefs and had committed their fair share of wrongdoings. The strongest emotion that came over me was complete and utter horror. It was at this point that I recognized God was attempting to convey a warning of some kind. I was a liar and an insensitive woman who didn't care about other people's sentiments. I was absolutely out of control and couldn't care less about whose sentiments I offended. I had witnessed how big of an impact my mistakes had on everyone. Needless to say, there was a brief period of darkness that lasted less than a minute following that vision. My actual body remained on what appeared to be a number line. As I gazed inside my own soul, the entire left side had gone utterly dark. My corporeal body was now towards the right side of the number line. There was a lot of sunshine and gorgeous flowers on this side. There was no bad odor, and there was no heat. On the other hand, I had witnessed a non-existent aspect of my life. I had a clear picture of a tall man standing at a 45-degree angle with a young girl between the ages of 4 and 5. She was the most stunning girl I'd ever seen. She had long black hair and resembled both me and the man with whom I had an affair. As I glanced at this gorgeous beauty, my spirit began to fill with pure happiness. "Mommy, why didn't you keep me?" she murmured as she greeted me. It was at that point that I realized that was my aborted child. I told her that because Mommy made a mistake, she's deeply sorry and adores her. There isn't a single day that goes by that I don't think of you. I've begged God to keep an eye on you. Mommy made a mistake and became pregnant with you when I was married to another man, I said. "Do you forgive me, baby?" I begged. "Yes, Mommy, I do," she replied. "But you need to change." "Why do you say that?" I asked. "Because, Mommy, You treat people badly and have to worry what they think," she explained. I sobbed as I heard this lovely girl say these words. At that very moment, I could hear the sincerity in her innocent voice and was taken speechless because she was correct. The tall guy figurine standing beside her was a mystery. I'd never seen somebody like him before. He wore an azure ice blue dress shirt and held a box-shaped device. All I recall about this device is a sapphire blue button on the right side and a red button on the left. This tall, attractive mystery man connected with me telepathically. I then started seeing flashing images of him and me laughing together. I had fantasies of him and myself riding a bus together, looking out the window. We were looking out the window when we noticed a lake with the most beautiful birds I'd ever seen. However, I had the impression that I would eventually track down this man. "Mommy, are you going to change if we bring you back?" said the small girl. "Yes, I will," I replied. "Mommy, you have to change or we'll send you back," she warned. "I promise," I said. "When I return, I will be rebaptized to wash away the spiritual pain." "Take me back," I replied, looking over at the towering mystery man. He then pressed the blue send back button. The vision of my daughter and this mysterious man vanished as I was being returned. My soul, or the carbon copy across from me, had migrated towards me and re-entered my actual earthly body. I saw a fleeting vision of myself in a wedding gown marrying a younger man with brown eyes as my soul was integrating back into my body. My soul was now fully integrated into my body. My actual body subsequently began to awaken from anesthesia. I was wide awake and drenched in sweat. "Why am I sweating?" I inquired of the nurses. They were stunned since none of them could respond. "Where's my hospital gown?" I inquired. They stated I pulled it off as I was coming out of anesthesia. "Yes, you took it off," the nurses explained. "And then we attempted placing you on a cotton gown, and you took that off as well." "What? Why?" I asked. They responded by saying, the heat, it's too hot." "We weren't going to fight with you longer, so we just provided you an extra blanket to cover your chest and keep your breasts from being revealed," they explained. Needless to say, I was beside myself and managed to get my phone hours later so I could take a picture of myself laying in the hospital bed and remember this once-in-a-lifetime day for the rest of my life.